good afternoon, Rahul. This is Smriti here from DM Talkies. I absolutely enjoyed your performance in Berlin. And so, my first question for you is your performance as Jagdish Sondhi. It was very similar to Nawazuddin Siddiqui's character in Kahani, who was also a IB officer called Khan. Because you guys don't look physically don't look ruthless, but you are ruthless. So I want to know what was the brief given to you regarding the performance of yours uh, during the shoot of the film. I wanted to know that.
I haven't watched Kahani.
Oh, you are. Thank you. So
Um, I think I think the brief was very, very clear. That showed on the page. Good scripts, when you read them, you have a very clear idea as to who you're playing and why. What you need to know then is the backstory, which you don't see in a movie, but it's good for preparation. His family life, what were his parents like, why is he so, what compels him, what motivates him. And for Sondhi, it's survival. He has to win. Everything he does, he has to win. It's a battle and fueled by his ego. So I think in that respect, those were the conversations Atul and I had for a long while about Sondhi and his the reason for his aggression. And of course, one of the greatest reasons for his aggression is self-loathing. A lot of people who hate themselves tend to treat people very badly.
it's actually quite a good uh, analogy, actually.
I'm glad you
Uh,
approve.
yeah. Now I understand, because I remember when I remember the movie, I kind of understand what is said. My next question is, how different is Berlin from the usual spy films that we watch, especially the ones releasing in Hindi cinema?
Well, I think that the trope of a whodunit is whodunit, and a trope of a spy thriller is are we going to catch the bad guys? And in this case, neither is applicable. That's the beauty of Berlin. It is a whodunit, it is a spy thriller, but it's not about somebody who's trying to take over the world and you have to kill this person. And it isn't about the bad guys and the good guys. You're wondering who's a bad guy and who's a good guy. You're wondering which horse to place your money on because it just becomes very, very gray as the film goes on. So that's what really is. There's a lot of interiority in this film. There's a lot of psychological to and fro. There are lots of silences, which is just a magnificent playground for an actor.
Absolutely right. Uh, I want to know, are you specifically choosing spy films which are not catering to jingoism and nationalistic uh, elements? Is that
If I had done five spy films, none of which cater to what you said, then you could have asked me that question: that are you doing this consciously? This is the only one I've done. Have I done any others?
no, not in my memory? No. No.
So therefore I haven't answered the question. You can ask me a different, and you could, I don't know, ask it to me differently.
How
I like Berlin not for what I didn't, not for what I don't want to do. I like Berlin for what I want to do. I never thought of the things that you've suggested. I just looked at it like what I got. And I was like, this is really interesting. This is captivating. This is interesting. This is engrossing. There's a great director, seems to know his stuff. There are excellent co-actors who also happen to be wonderful human beings, which is imperative for me to work with good human beings. It's written well. It's uh, uh, there seems to be the role, the character, the story, all of it sort of falls together. That's the stuff that made me say yes to it, not the fact that I'm doing this because it is not that.
uh, how does it feel acting in a period film? Because technically 90s is 30 years ago. So how does it feel working in a period spy film? And uh, What about that era fascinated you, especially during the shoot?
Working in a different era only matters if the entire body language and the entire delivery of the construction of words, the usage of words contextually changes, which it doesn't. From the 30s, from 90s to now, that hasn't changed. If I was doing something from the 50s or the 40s, what were the words in vogue at that time? Which is why most period films fall flat, because people are talking like they're living and breathing today, but they're actually from that period. You know, you can do that with Shakespeare in the way that Baz Luhrmann did Romeo and Juliet, which is, you're looking at a modern story with the same old script, right? Whereas if you're doing if you're actually being truthful to a period, then syntax, voice, delivery, all of that stuff plays a major role in asset and in bringing to life that period, which we didn't have to do. What do I miss about the 90s? The lack of social media. I
That's
think
it.
I think the toxicity of social media today far outweighs the good.
I kind of agree with you on that. I'm also 90s kid, so I completely agree on that.
The amount of children who have anxiety problems in counseling now because of social media, can you believe it? The amount of children who are sexually abused online is because of social media. Uh,
No,
it's just it, the amount of negativity, abuse, mental trauma that people are going through, and we've brought it upon ourselves. This is not a social evil. You can walk away from this anytime. You
we
can't
got
walk
them
away
into our
from the
life.
day. You can't walk away from misogyny. You can't walk away from patriarchy. You can walk away from this, and people don't. I mean, I would not miss social media if it vanished from my life tomorrow.
Okay, on that completely. My last question to you is: Berlin is one of the very few films in Hindi cinema where it has a mute character. It's a mute character is a central character. I want to know if you think more movies should be made with people who are differently abled, but they are treated as normal people and not treated differently. I want to know your take.
The first job of movies is to be incredibly entertaining, to have an incredibly entertaining. When I say entertaining, it's not just dancing and laughing and joking, but gripping narrative. After that,
Engaging.
yeah, it has to. That's the function of art, to engage the viewer. After that, who you use, who you don't use, I mean, that's. Would I say no? Of course I wouldn't say no. Would I say you must? Of course I wouldn't say you must. It depends. It serves the story. Oh, thou shalt only make films with differently able people. Who's going to say that, right? So, um, the big ethical question that anybody will ask questions about is: should a story about a person who has a hearing disability be played by somebody with a hearing disability? Where do you draw that line? Then I can't play a cricketer because I don't play cricket.
Yeah.
Where do you draw that line? So those are other pitfalls. But listen, of course, I would love for the world to have more stories about empowered women, for the world to have more stories about people with differently abled who surmount. But the stories have to be engaging. It's not about I am now going to make a propaganda film.
So these are my questions for you, Rahul. I'm done with my questions for the interview. Thank you so much for your time. It was absolutely pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
thank you so much. Thank you.
All the best. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.